Just talking about coffee gets me itching for some. But listeners, it's nighttime here, and if I have another one, not only will I start talking way too fast, but I won't be able to sleep until tomorrow.
Hello and welcome to Getting Pacific, where we're getting specific on trending topics straight from the newsroom at TaiwanPlus. I'm Joey Chow.
And I'm Michelle Chang, and for this episode of Getting Pacific, we're talking about a very important daily element that provides, I think, both of us enjoyment and fuel. Coffee. So earlier this year, Taiwan saw our beans featured in Japanese coffee culture.
Drawing out the smells and tastes of faraway places through coffee. Ichimi Yujiro has been perfecting his craft, roasting and brewing coffee from around the world here in Kumamoto, Japan. Their family-owned coffee shop has now passed down 3 generations, and a new brew they've been excited to share with customers is this little-known bean from Taiwan. Ichimi Yujiro says people usually talk about Taiwan's Alishan tea, but rarely Alishan coffee. The premium beans are known within the coffee community, but because not many are harvested each season, they're limited and expensive, especially to ship overseas.
That was a report by Joseph Wu and Joyce Zheng from the TaiwanPlus newsroom. So I must admit that I've been a coffee addict, fiend, one of those words, from when the very first Starbucks opened around the corner from my high school.
Oh.
I was here for that. I used to get like super sweet frappuccinos and stuff, but from those, I moved on to more sophisticated varieties. I feel like the drink's magical grip on my household has only gotten stronger. I definitely consume multiple cups a day and find joy and solace in every cup. How about you, Joey? When did you start drinking coffee, and how present is coffee in your home?
Oh my goodness. My aunt in the house always drank coffee from when I was a little boy, so I remember them drinking coffee. And my eldest aunt always used to say that she only drinks black coffee because if you pour so much sugar and milk into the cup of coffee, are you drinking sugar and milk or are you really drinking coffee? You know? She's always like black coffee only kind of a connoisseur. But I really only started to drink more coffee as I stepped into the professional sphere, you know, where I actually need it for practical reasons. And more recently, in the last couple of years, I drink like 3 or 4 cups of coffee a day to keep myself awake, to take care of the babies while working late into the evening. So that's for me. But I'm curious, do you still drink those very sweet frappuccinos?
I do.
Oh,
I'm still guilty. It's occasionally, not as often anymore. I used to have like 1 or 2 a day if I could afford it out of my teenage allowance. But it's like, they're so delicious.
They are.
And now, you know, those big chains and also local vendors, they offer specials like holiday drinks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Oh, they're so good.
Christmas comes around, sugar content spikes.
Right?
Yeah.
And I completely agree with your aunt. It's not, at that point, drinking coffee. It's drinking flavor.
Yeah.
It's just sugar
Exactly.
and syrup. Like I mentioned earlier, I was here when Starbucks unveiled their very first shop in Taiwan. I think it was like 1998 or 99. I didn't yet have senior off-campus privileges. I had to bribe the seniors that I knew to get me something.
Oh, wow.
Apparently, Taiwan was the mega company's 4th overseas market after Japan and Singapore in 96 and the Philippines in 97. We're not here specifically to talk about Starbucks, though, but about the evolution of coffee culture in Taiwan and how it's changed the region.
I am so surprised that we came after the Philippines. So I guess there really wasn't a big coffee culture back in the late 90s, but that definitely changed over the last 20-odd years. So the global powerhouse coffee industry actually has a complex history deeply intertwined with colonialism and slavery, particularly in Asia. The Dutch, the French, and British colonial powers saw the potential of the land and climate in the region and introduced coffee in the 17th and 18th centuries. Unfortunately, the methods in which this cash crop was grown were pretty exploitative, including forcing locals into labor and to dedicate much of their land to growing the beans, which led to widespread poverty and famine. Echoes of this past continue to be felt today, with many coffee farmers in Asian countries still living in poverty. But despite this dark history with an interesting flavor, Asia has emerged as a power player in the global coffee industry.
Indeed. Only behind Brazil, Vietnam is the second largest coffee producer in the world. And Indonesia is the fourth largest. I'm sure everyone's heard of Arabica coffee.
Yeah.
Like Sumatran Mandailing and Sulawesi Java, which at this point are common words in like coffee households. India, Thailand, the Philippines, and China also contribute significantly to the global coffee supply. But enough about production. What about the most important part? Consumption.
Yes. How do you enjoy a cup of coffee? So today in all major Asian cities, not only international chains, but also domestic chains and small business coffee shops are flourishing. TaiwanPlus' show Connected with Divya Gopalan featured an episode titled The Rise of Taiwan's Coffee Culture, where they talked about the second wave of the industry, which is the explosion of local shops and chains that rose up to compete with the big Western names. Impressively, in 2021, Taiwan had the highest concentration of coffee shops in the world.
All of which I frequented. Just kidding. Not really. The pandemic at that time actually accelerated the trend of having coffee at home. Obviously, because we were all stuck at home. And with Taiwan's apartments generally being teeny tiny in comparison to Western living spaces, and people preferring to eat out rather than cook at home, this represents a significant change in just living culture, daily culture here. The third wave, which is the demand for specialty brews from higher bean and roast quality, direct trade, traceability, and sustainability. And the fourth wave, which was the rise of these higher standard coffees at home with all the associated appliances, are currently underway. Our guest today is Taiwanese coffee importer, wholesaler, and general enthusiast Oliver Lin. We first asked him why he started drinking coffee in the first place.
Pure pressure, because everybody was drinking it. The more I drink it, the more I found myself like appreciating the smell and the taste of it. But this is like something that is really personal. Like some people just like appreciate the taste. Some people just can't really stand the smell of it. So yeah, it's more like a personal choice.
We also spoke to Oliver about the rise of coffee popularity here in Taiwan, challenges that the local industry might face, and possible health pros and cons to drinking coffee. You know, just talking about coffee gets me itching for some. But listeners, it's nighttime here, and if I have another one, not only will I start talking way too fast, but I won't be able to sleep until tomorrow. Joey, you're currently actually drinking coffee.
Wait, I was so waiting for... Okay, go ahead and ask me the next question.
Joey, are you ready for the quiz?
Yes.
Oh, ASMR, I love it. So, as previously mentioned, Asia's industry is an emerging powerhouse. Do you think you can put in order from greatest to least average coffee consumption per person these following countries? We have Taiwan, South Korea, China, Japan, and Vietnam.
Greatest to least average coffee. So, okay, obviously Taiwan is first, because you were just saying that we were one of the biggest, where we have the most numerous coffee shops. So Taiwan, I'm going to say. And then Vietnam, because it has like a coffee culture from friends, maybe. South Korea, Japan, and China. The rest are just guessing.
Japan leads the pack.
Oh.
At nearly, ready? Here's some massive numbers for our listeners.
Okay.
201,014,000 kilograms in just the year 2021, which comes to an average of about 1.61 kilograms per person per year. That's a lot of cups of coffee per person, like if you're brewing coffee. And we're also including an average here, the non-coffee drinkers, because, you know, that's how we, divide out the kilograms.
Okay.
Then comes South Korea at roughly 68,393,000 kilograms, which is 1.32 kilograms per person, followed by Taiwan. Taiwan is actually number 3 at a little over 19,731,000 or 83 kilograms per person. Vietnam comes in 4th at almost 73,482,000 kilograms or 0.75 kilograms per person. And lastly, China at approximately 130,635,000 kilograms, or only, because their population is huge, 0.09 kilograms per person. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. When you divide it out, yeah.
Yes, you divide it out by population, right? So we're also including all the non-coffee drinkers here. Also, just because I was curious, I looked up the numbers for the United States, which is nearly 734,330,000 kilograms, or a much higher 2.21 kilogram per person. Especially considering these averages include non-coffee drinkers, we can really see how much each country is consuming.
Wait, okay, hold on. I have to ask, when you say kilogram, do you mean kilogram of coffee, the drink, or coffee beans?
Beans.
Oh, wow. And they ground out to be many, many more cups than that.
It's a lot of cups of coffee. So if you think about like Taiwan's numbers, we're looking at 0.83 kilograms per person per year. But that's all of the people in Taiwan averaged out, 23 million people. And if you think about how much ground coffee 0.83 kilograms makes, is a lot of coffee.
Yeah, I think you only need like 15 to 20 grams of it for a cup. Mm-hmm. So that's like thousands of cups of coffee, at least. Oh my gosh, that's a lot. How sleep deprived is the whole country? And the U.S., 734 million kilograms of coffee beans? Mm-hmm. That's crazy.
It's nuts.
Literally, yeah. Okay, anyway.
Wait. I think there's a difference between like nuts and beans.
Oh.
But we can get into that at some
Really?
point
Oh,
later.
I'm sorry. I apologize. I'm apparently not a coffee nuts connoisseur.
So, with the popularity of coffee skyrocketing in Asia, we're also seeing transformation. Consumers here are now more discerning, demanding ethically sourced and high-quality coffee, which drives a positive change in the industry, such as, for more sustainable farming practices and fair trade. However, there are definitely challenges. Once again, our guest today is Oliver Lin, a Taiwanese coffee importer, wholesaler, and general enthusiast. We asked him what obstacles the industry faces in Asia and in Taiwan specifically.
Climate change is actually making because coffee tree requires a lot of not just humidity, it needs temperature gap. So this is what we call micro weather, microclimates.
Okay.
Right. It needs to have humidity in the morning, but not throughout the day, and also can't really get that cold. Coffee trees are tropical. The market is growing for sure. But the fact is coffee is actually pretty susceptible to diseases, bugs, so it's getting more expensive each year. So the cost of coffee green beans is actually going to be such a burden for small businesses. The thing about Taiwan is there's so many micro roasters, so it's very competitive. They don't really do well here in Taiwan because there's just so many competitors out there.
So Oliver is saying that the downside to having the highest concentration of coffee shops in Taiwan is that there's a massive amount of competition, which, makes sense.
Yeah, I find that that's a very common thing in Taiwan with anything edible. Like the restaurant business, the cafe business is just highly competitive. I see near my house and really everywhere I drive around the city that I visit frequently, you would see a coffee shop or restaurant open this month and then a couple of months it's gone. And they tear it down, remodel it, and someone else moves in with the same business, basically.
Maybe different business plan?
Hopefully.
We don't know. They're always trying, which is great. We're always stand for small businesses. Absolutely. You ready for the next question?
Yes, let's go.
So, Oliver spoke about the difficulties involved with growing coffee, which led me down another Wikipedia hole about the biology of the plant.
Okay, here we go.
Can you guess how many species of coffee there are? A, 1. B, 23. C, 124.
It can't possibly be one. I mean, unless you're here really for shock value, I'm not going to fall for that either. So let's say as many as I can think of. 124. C.
Hey, you are correct.
Ah, ding, ding, ding.
Ding, ding, ding. I mean, I did put 1 there because some people are it is coffee, and it's coffee beans from one plant, right? So some people might have guessed 1.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, the very different types of, you know what? Now that I think of it, I would have probably thought that on another day. But anyway, go on and tell me more.
The genus of coffee is Coffea, I guess. I think I'm pronouncing it correctly, which contains at least 124 species. However, there are only 4 main species whose beans are commercially produced. Arabica, sounds familiar, right? Robusta, Liberica, and Excelsa. Arabica and Robusta beans take up over 90% of the market, though. Generally, the counter industry, meaning the coffee counters where you buy over-the-counter coffee, they only really buy Coffea arabica. Robusta is more bitter because of the higher caffeine content and is less complex in its acidity.
Oh.
Which sounds tastier to me. But yeah, most people who enjoy coffee are talking about arabica beans. Reading biological facts about coffee led me to specific studies about possible health benefits or hazards. My mom sure warns me a whole lot about drinking too much coffee. Does yours?
No, my mom told me, I mean, obviously, like you can't give kids under a certain age, I think it was 12 to 16 or something, any caffeine, right? Because it's not good for their body, not good for the development of their brain. But beyond that, my mom never stopped me until my doctor tried to a couple of years ago, and saying that, you already have low bone density. Stop drinking so much coffee. It's not good for your bones. I'm like, okay, fine. But then I had kids, so I didn't listen to them for the last couple of years.
Well, what if you put a lot of milk in your coffee? Does that then solve the calcium problem?
You take a little, you add a little.
Right?
I suppose that could work. You know what? I'm going to bring that up to my doctor. I'll say my friend says so.
There you go. So we asked Oliver if there were any specifics he understood about coffee and health-related pros and cons.
Coffee has a lot of antioxidants in it, and also increase your metabolism. Well, there are like several different grades in coffee. There's what we call commercial grade, which has a lot of defects in it. It's coffee's crop. It can get moldy if you just don't pick them out, and the toxin won't get cooked off even after roasting. So if you drink cheap coffee, that can be a little harmful.
Listening to the cheap coffee comment about Oliver said about, possibly containing toxins from mold or something. That's actually kind of scary. I'd be worried. Maybe not buying cheap coffee anymore.
I didn't know that there's toxin that needs to be cooked or roasted off.
It
thought
doesn't.
they only roasted it for the flavor.
No, he said it doesn't cook out. So it's a good reason not to buy very cheap beans, I guess.
Yeah, or very cheap anything, really.
That's true. Okay, last question.
Let's go.
According to Johns Hopkins Medicine, which is not a benefit that drinking coffee provides? A, it helps your body process glucose or sugar better. B, coffee decreases the likelihood of heart failure. C, you are less likely to develop Parkinson's or Alzheimer's disease. D, coffee has a protective effect on your liver. And E, your DNA will be stronger.
What does that last one even mean? As in, like, my kids will look more like me? Is that what
I'm not exactly sure.
Well, I'm gonna say E then. My DNA will not be stronger from drinking coffee. And now please tell me I'm wrong.
This was actually a trick question because they are all true.
Oh, really?
I just thought the last one, it was just so weird when I read it.
Yeah, I know, right?
I knew that you would say, oh, that one's false for sure. But yeah, that last one was the most interesting. Apparently, dark roast coffee decreases breakage in DNA strands, which is something that occurs naturally but can lead to cancer or tumors if not repaired by your cells.
Oh.
That's where it's actually very interesting. There are studies that show that by preventing the breakage, you are less prone to developing cancer.
Okay, so now I am curious, was this research sponsored by coffee manufacturers or makers or exporters?
Perhaps it is written by a coffee enthusiast. So
So just a tinge of bias. But you know what? I have heard all that before. Like even I have doctors in the family and they tell me that a certain number of cups of coffee every day, it is good for you.
kind of like they say that the same for like red wine.
Yeah. That's right.
As long as you don't overdo it, it's supposed to be good for you.
And no one so far has that about cigarettes. So I believe that, there's a line that doctors don't cross with promoting these things.
Yes. Neither Joey and I promote smoking, period. It's
right.
gross. So while Taiwan is by no means a coffee growing powerhouse, its rich and vibrant coffee culture is still growing and evolving. From Yunlin County's perfect microclimate producing muted acidity with notes of nuts and citrus, to the vast flavors imported from other countries around the world, amounting to roughly, get this, $235 million a year, local demand is still insatiable.
Yeah, local coffee competitions such as the Taiwan International Coffee Festival are becoming very popular with the public. Now, these are held by private organizations or even the local governments and have helped to promote the growth and development of Taiwan's coffee production. The Taiwan government even provides training and guidance to support farmers to enter their lots into not only the domestic but also the international market.
Whether it's on the production or the consumption side, there's a lot to get excited about in the coffee industry here. With the Taiwanese people naturally open to trying new foods and beverages, and the younger generation getting more interested and creative with all sorts of coffee applications, coffee's here to stay.
And that about wraps up today's episode. So thank you for joining us, and I hope we got Pacific enough for you. If you'd like to give us an idea or share your thoughts, toss us your 2 cents about the show. Don't be shy. Feel free to write to Joey at gettingpacific.com. And if you want even more news and views from Taiwan and around the world, check out the huge catalog of news and entertainment on our website, TaiwanPlus.com, as well as YouTube, Instagram, or Twitter. Thank you for listening, and we hope you'll join us again on Getting Pacific.